Okay, we are live. This is Rabbi Pollen. This is the Light Unto the Nations show. And we have a very interesting topic today that I think could be world-changing. Should be, at least. It's called Don't Be Right-Wing, Don't Be Left-Wing, and Don't Be Centrist. Because I have a book of 200 original quotes called Inspiration Brew Daily, which you can get at allinforgod.com. And there's a quote in there that's the basis for this video. It says, don't be on any side of an argument taking place. There is always truth and lies on both sides. If you can, try to find out the truth that lies within each side and come up with a creative solution that satisfies the desires of both parties. In other words, to mediate a dispute, be a big supporter of both sides. If you are unable to do that, simply seek a compromise. If you can't do that, simply stay out of it. Never take sides. Never get embroiled. In general, avoid disputes like fire, because that is what they are. They're fire. They can get out of control very, very quickly. And the novelty that I'm going to bring out in this video is that this quote doesn't just apply to friends and family and people in your church, people in your synagogue. It applies to politics as well. The right wing is supposed to be conservative. The left wing is supposed to be Democrat liberal. And the centrist doesn't want to be part of either side. He doesn't want to be right wing, doesn't want to be left wing. And all of them are actually wrong. The rule is, if you can't argue the other person's side as much as they can, then your opinion doesn't count. You're not really listening to what they're saying. Listening is the key to getting what both parties want and realizing that they actually want the same thing, because in nearly every single dispute, the two parties want the same thing. They're arguing about the means, and the means can be compromised and it can be satisfied in different ways. There's a lot you can do with the means. But if the goal, the underlying goal is the same, and if you listen, you will realize that they're the same, then you will have very little problem implementing the means. Let's take poverty, for example. The right wing would have you build more business and have the business trickle down to get people jobs, and that will solve poverty that way. The left wing wants to help them directly with food stamps and welfare and other social programs like that. But they're not listening to each other, because if they listen to each other, they'd realize that they both want to stop poverty. The underlying goal is the same for both of them. So instead of taking on one of these views and ignoring the other view or just fighting about it, take into account both sides and come up with a solution that satisfies them both. Come up with a solution that grows business and creates jobs and also helps people who can't work. Make sure that they are taken care of. Satisfy both sides. Work like that. The centrists have one thing right. They know that ideologically sticking to one side is wrong, but they don't offer solutions of their own. They're just being centrist. Instead of being right or left wing, what you should really be is solution oriented. So if somebody asks me if I'm a Republican or a Democrat, I'll say, I'm just solution oriented. Like if a kid comes up, as has happened, a kid came up with a way to desalinate the water in the ocean. So we'll have a tremendous amount of water supply if we can take out the salt from the ocean. Is that a left-wing solution or a right-wing solution? It's just a solution that helps people. It's just a solution. There's no right-wing or left-wing to it. And that's what we should be focusing on. Issues that don't involve the right wing or the left wing. There are many solutions like that the government should be implementing. Not everything needs to be partisan. And I ask you, what about the other directions besides right wing, left wing? We also have forwards and backwards, and up and down. Forwards would be, are we becoming more technologically advanced and using that to help people, to keep people safe in synagogues, like we've had so many shootings? Is there a way to up our technological advancement to help people like that and help save people's lives? Up and down? Are we going up to God? Are we going up to a higher power that keeps us in check? Are we having moments of silence or moments of prayer? Or are we going down to lustful desires that bring us into addiction and crime? So there should be an upwing and a downwing, and a forward wing and a backwards wing, and it should be obvious which one we want to be. We want to be going forward, and we want to be going up. Those wings are more important, actually, than the right wing or the left wing. And one of the goals of society should be unity. We're like a big family. The whole world's like a big family. We're no more than an 18th cousin with the kid in Uganda. So we're a big family. And specifically in the United States of America, we're the USA family. And we want to be able to get along. We would prefer it if we could, not have World War III break out every time we have a Thanksgiving dinner and we have to worry about being with our own family members because of their political beliefs. So we need to stop this whole right-wing, left-wing business. We need to stop with the colors, the red and the blue. It has to stop. It has to stop because it's breaking our country in half. That's like what divorce is. We're divorcing the country. We're causing alienation between families when we do this, when we do the right and the left, and we listen to this radio station and we listen to that radio station. It shouldn't be like that. You should listen to both radio stations or none of them. But don't become entrenched in a conflict. Never get entrenched in a conflict. It only leads to bad things. How to tackle the national debt. It's a huge problem. Come up with solutions. I don't have all the answers, but people do. Give out contracts for people that come forward to solve different problems that exist in the government and in the world. Get the public involved in the government. It's supposed to be a government by the people and for the people. One thing I just have to say is there are certain issues that are just obvious, and everybody can agree on them, and everybody does agree on them, but they're not getting done for one reason or another. And like term limits is an example of that. Term limits, well, to not have term limits is ridiculous. For people to stay in their job, no matter how bad they are at that job, is not a government for the people by the people. The people should decide if you stay. You should have a few years, and then the people should have another opportunity to decide if they want you there, if they're happy with what you're doing. But it won't change because the people in the government are the ones that would have to vote themselves out, and they will never do that. So we need a solution. We need possibly an executive action to make this happen. But we also have to put in a check to make sure that the executive branch, that the president doesn't become too power hungry. And it's complicated, but it's not impossible. You can come up with solutions that work for everyone. We need to brainstorm together and solve these problems. And it's not that hard. You've dealt with harder problems on your tests in school. Your essay problems are often just as hard as these governmental problems. They're just problems and solutions. If you can get an A on your essay exam, you could be someone that can come up with a solution for the government. You just need to be given the problem, and it needs to be explained in a proper way, and there should be a monetary prize for solving the problem. There should be a contract. We'll use that person again to come up with other problems. And what should government be doing if not solving problems? Every problem should incorporate whatever good the right wing has to say and whatever good the left wing has to say. And we should be big supporters of both sides in that sense. Don't be part of the dispute. Don't be one or the other. Be outside the dispute as a third-party observer, trying to satisfy both sides or making a compromise between them. So if liberals want $10 for welfare and the conservatives want $0, you do $5. So you compromise. That's how so many disputes are resolved in divorce court and everywhere else in the law. You just take the number 5 because it's halfway. You split the difference. It's halfway in between 10 and 0. So that's what the result is. Just compromise. That's the second best solution. The first best solution is to come up with a solution that satisfies both sides. The next thing you do, if you can't do that, is you just compromise between them. But you have to be willing to look for the compromise. That means you have to listen to the other side, listen very carefully to what they're saying. You have to be able to argue their side better than they can. And then you'll be willing to compromise, and you will compromise. And if you put your mind to it, you can do better than a compromise. You can come up with a solution that satisfies both. Okay, I hope this gave you some clarity about the political system and what we need to do to make ourselves more unified and more efficient and to move forward and up and onwards. And I wish you the best. God bless.